I think that I think we spend a lot of time trying to laugh at things we're scared of.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes. I think I think how much laughing there is at birthdays about the fact people are getting older. What's the significance? They're closer to death. We laugh a lot about it. You say, ha, 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 none of us getting any younger. All that stuff. I think a lot of it is a barrier to what scares us.
Do you think comedy attracts a certain type of person?
I think there are some stereotypes around, which, not all comedians are depressed, but I think a very large number of them are.
Why is that?
Well, I think they find that making people laugh makes them feel better in the short term. That being around people and having them laugh, they feel much better. I think when they get back to the hotel room or back to their home, I don't think that lasts for very long, but it's probably better than just, and it's a living. It's a living. There are a number of people, I think, are very straightforward and normal and funny. I'm thinking of Michael Palin or Graham Garden, people like that. And then there's a fair number of them are tortured. But I think as you get older, you realize there's more tortured people around than you thought. And they're not all in the arts.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
But do you think comedians are fairly needy? Needy for the attention?
I think some performers are sadly needy. I'd love to mention some names, but I dare. But I tell you somebody who wasn't, was Ronnie Barker. I mean, Ronnie Barker was totally happy to be funny. And then he'd sit at dinner and you'd think he was the nicest bank manager you ever met. He didn't need the attention. A lot of performers need attention, yeah. And I think there are other people who, there are some performers who just love the curtain call, They cannot get enough of it. They want to come out and out and out. And for me, the curtain call is very nice. It should last about 15 seconds. I want to say, glad if you enjoyed the show, that's very nice, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, thank you, and go and get something to eat, But there are some people who live for that moment.
If being funny involves playing the fool, have you ever felt like a fool performing?
I think I felt very, very foolish indeed when I'm in the middle of something that isn't working. I think that's a terrible feeling. That's really awful, you just want to die. And that's why comedians talk about dying. Actors don't talk about dying. It's terribly simple. It's black and white. Do they laugh? Do they not laugh? If they don't laugh, you can't go on saying it's a bad audience. You can say that Monday night, and you can sort of say it and hope Tuesday night, but if they don't laugh on Wednesday night, you're not being funny, Yeah. And if you're not being funny, that's really humiliating. But I think, and I'm pleased to say this to you, dear Dawn, that you and Jennifer were the first two women I ever saw who I thought really let go. I thought everyone else, all the other women were just holding back a little bit. Don't mean they weren't funny, don't mean they weren't good. But when you guys went for it, and that's the moment, I was terribly, I'll be really avuncular, proud of you both, because it was the first time that I thought there were two women out there who were funnier than any of the other men.
But in order to try something new, to see if it's funny, you do have to open yourself, don't you, to that possible failure. And the failure means humiliation.
Oh, absolutely. I can still remember before the first Python saying to Michael Palin just before the show, I said, you do realize we could be the first people ever to do a comedy show to complete silence? He said, I was thinking the same thing. We had no idea if they would. We really thought they might.
So you've never had that dripping with humiliation moment then, have you?
Oh, I'm sure I can think of one or two. And also, there's a certain kind of criticism. And I don't know what critics do it, but when it is very savage, that you feel shame. And it's something to do with the way critics will go after you sometimes. And I don't get it. I think it's envy. I think it's envy that they don't know about.
Have you ever had any form of rituals or superstitions or anything like that before you go on stage? Have you? What kind of preparation?
Oh, just running the lines. The fear is always forgetting the lines. It's so simple. The fear is not, oddly enough, not being funny. Because, I don't know, forgetting the lines is even worse than not being funny. And for years, I had 2 anxiety dreams. One was taking an exam at Cambridge, and 4 days before the exams, I discover there's some subject that I have to take an exam in, and nobody told me. Yeah. 4 days to cram for it. Yeah. The other one is going on stage and not knowing my lines. Yeah. And at some point, probably in the 70s or 40 times, the dream changed, because I remember in one dream I came out and I didn't know the actors even. I never set eyes on the actors. And that's normally when you just think, please, can I die now? Not in 5 minutes, but now. And I said, good evening. A huge laugh, you see. And I thought, oh, that went down well. And then I said, how do you do? My name's John Cleese, the Hollywood. I suddenly found that I could ad-lib in my dream and get this big reaction. And I think it was very indicative that a certain kind of fear was beginning to dissipate. But if I go on stage now, I have almost no nerves at all, except vis-a-vis remembering the lines.
Okay, so you trust in your own innate funniness, then?
Something like that. I know I can get away with it. I know I can get away with it.
Yeah. When you are performing on stage, do you think you get a kind of heightened intelligence while you're actually performing?
That's interesting. I think so. I think it's something to do with the adrenaline and the energy. But I do a Q&A afterwards, which people like often better than the show, which infuriates me. This thing you spend hours honing it and polishing it and rehearsing it. They say, oh, yes, but the Q&A was really good.
Because they're meeting you, that's why.
Yes, but the point is your adrenaline is running, and I think you can think faster than almost anyone in the audience when you're on the stage. It's just the setup. It gives you some energy. See, I've always been primarily a writer. I want to get it right. I want to figure it out and just get everything polished and it's right, and then go out and do it and play with it a little bit. Let a little bit of daylight into it. Don't stick to it too rigidly. That's what I like to do.
When was the last time you performed on stage, actually?
Well, I did a sort of trial show in a sort of a one-man show, but with 1 or 2 other people in it in New Zealand just over a year ago. And I thought that would be fun, that would be interesting. And also, you know, talking in American terms, New Zealand is about as far off Broadway as you can get.
That's for sure.
There won't be any reviews on the front page of the New York Times
was it
or
fun?
indeed the London Times. I enjoyed a lot of it, but I couldn't quite figure out. The show was a mixture of different styles of humour, and I couldn't quite figure out whether it was a satisfactory mixture or not. Then I tried doing it back here in a few college campuses, very friendly audiences, as a sort of solo show, and found I didn't like that. I love working with teams. And when I go on for a monologue, I'm the one who's thinking, another 7 minutes and I'll be done. You know? It doesn't particularly interest me going out and doing a monologue. And I like the interplay. There was a particular closer when there were several people in the show that involved firing cats out of cannons, which is one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done in my life. And I don't want to go on stage anymore unless I'm going to enjoy it. So I have a feeling that might be the direction to take it. But I don't want to do that for a long time. I've got several things I want to write first.
And when you write, do you put aside a specific time? Are you better in the morning, better in the afternoon?
I think if I can get started, and I'm one of those people who kind of feels I've got to call everyone back, answer every email.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
So you have to clear your desk.
I have to clear my desk, but then I can do about an hour and a half, have a coffee, second coffee, then do about an hour and a bit, and then have lunch, put my feet up, have a bit of a snooze or read for a bit, and then I can do about another hour. And I think after that, that's the best of the day. You can keep going after that, but if you do, I notice how tense I am. It's like a towel, damp towel that you squeeze like that. It takes me a long time to unwind.
Do you prefer to write with other people?
Yes, I love writing with other people.
And do you presumably write aloud then?
Yes, absolutely. And I always think that you get somewhere that you would never get on your own. even if it's by accident.